Hey everybody, this is TotalGamerJunkie. I want to welcome you all back to my channel. So I am here with Chapter 4 of The Life is Strange, the Blue Baron fanfic. This chapter and the next chapter are going to be the last chapters of the first part of this series. And anyways, I'm hoping you're all enjoying it. There's another fanfic I gotta read, and I'm planning to read it, but I want to get through all of this first. So anyways, let's get started. This is The Blue Baron, Chapter 4, Ally. The following day was warm, so Max joined Chloe in the woods gathering more firewood, using lengths of rope they'd found in the barn to lash bundles to their backs. It was pleasant enough amongst the trees, but the work got harder as morning turned to noon. Max wasn't used to this sort of labor. They shared a simple lunch of tinned meat and apples, sitting on a log, talking flying. They had each piloted a wide variety of aircraft, but had not a single plane in common. In some ways, it was remarkable how similar the planes on both sides of the war had become, but even the smallest differences were of interest to an ace pilot. Chloe eventually dove into the story of one of her more memorable battles, but Max shook her head. Flying, I enjoy. Fighting, she shrugged. Not here. Chloe nodded in agreement, standing. This is best. I am not tired yet. You rest. I will carry these back. Help me tie them. She gestured at the stack of branches they had collected before sitting down to eat. Max stood and helped secure a big bundle of wood to Chloe's back. They watched as she trudged off toward the house. Grateful for the break, she resumed the relatively easy work of collecting falling branches, humming to herself. The quiet of the woods was relaxing. Could not be further removed from the ferocious noise. Was that ferocious? Yep. Could not be farther removed from the ferocious noise and continuous stress of flying a fighter aircraft. Bang! A gunshot in the distance. Then a second later, the chatter of 100 little echoes. Max froze in her tracks, dropped the branch she was carrying. Chloe, if they found her, if they'd be waiting at the house, Max had been a fool to let her go back alone. She broke into a sprint, leaping falling logs, shoving through underbush. What if she was too late? Bang! Another repeat identical to the first. Max didn't slow, charging over rough ground, branches scratching across her face and hands. She vaulted over a boulder, ducked under low branches, finally emerging from the woods with a clear view of the house. She stumbled to a halt, shading her eyes, breathing hard. No vehicle, no visible activity, no sign of any firefight. Then, movement in an orchard, near the house. A single figure in shadow. Max took off again, running as fast as she could. It might already be over. There were no more shots. She suddenly wondered if she were running towards her own death. But she pushed the thought down. She was an English officer in France. She had nothing to fear. Only Chloe was in danger. She pounded across the pasture, separating the house from the woods. Then was in the orchard, crushing sodden, half-rotten apples with each step. She passed a tree trunk spattered with fresh blood near the ground. The figure was ahead, now stooping, reaching for something. A person. Oh no, Max thought. Feared. No. Rounding a tree trunk, it was Chloe, straightening as Max approached, pistol in hand, and at her feet, the body of a boar, coarse, black hair matted with blood from a bullet hole on its flank, and a second between its eyes. Chloe turned to Max, grinning hugely. Chloe, Max gasped, fighting for breath. I thought I was afraid. Ah. Chloe's smile was replaced by a frown of concern, and she walked up to Max, ran her thumb along Max's cheek. It came away with a thick red smear. Max hadn't even noticed the cut. I'm sorry if you were frightened, Chloe said. It came to eat apples, you see. I took the ammunition from your bag. It did not see me. I was able to get close. Then the smile returned, wearily one-sided. She pulled a handkerchief from her pocket and dabbed at Max's cheek. "You are very worried about me. Do not fret. I am not foolish enough to fight infantry if they come. This," she said, waving her sidearm, "is not large enough." Max was finally catching her breath, the adrenaline fading into intense relief. "I was just afraid my holiday was over," she said. She nudged the dead ball with her foot. "What do we do with this?" Chloe turned back towards it, casually shoving her pistol into the back of her trousers. We must get the blood out. Help me lift. Ah, we will eat very well tonight. If only I had a grinder, I could make sausages." "You know how to make a sausage?" Chloe laughed. "No, not at all." Butchering the boar consumed the rest of their day, but Chloe was right. They ate very, very well that night, collapsing into bed with full bellies. The farmhouse redolent with the aroma of roast pork. The bitterness Max had seen in Chloe the night before had disappeared from view. Such had she enjoyed the cooking and the eating. She was even more beautiful, Max decided, when she was happy. Dressing the following morning, Max realized there was dry blood in her short hair and a little pork grease. Rubbing the back of her neck, her fingers came back dirty. "I need a bath," she said, scowling. Chloe, still in bed, looked on with amusement. "Yes, I agree. You need a bath. You're comfortable as you are? Please don't tell me that German soldiers don't bathe." "Did you not know?" Chloe said cheerfully. "German women simply do not get dirty. There is no need." She held up a hand smugly regarding her fingernails, which Max knew full well were full of gunk. Max rolled her eyes. "Well, I'm going to draw a bath today. You're welcome to it if you change your mind." "That would be very nice, but I do not think we will both fit in the tub." "I meant after me." "Ah, but I am a Hauptmann here. As the ranking officer, I should have the first bath." Max raised an eyebrow. "You're going to have to do better than that." "Oh, sir, I have shot army and carried most of the firewood." That was a fair point. Taking the boar had hugely improved their fortunes. Max huffed, but she didn't really mind. "Fine. First bath for Hauptmann Price. You'll have to help carry the water though." "Of course. You should practice your negotiations." That was too easy. Max grinned as she headed for the kitchen. It was a big project, but if they collected yet more wood, a got the stove going. What? But if they collected yet more wood, got the stove going early, and hauled up enough buckets of water, they could have a nice, full, warm bath. Max got to work on breakfast, frying onions and potatoes in a bit of precious lard. Oh, I said that's a mistake. It's meant to be, but if they collected more firewood and got the stove going early and hauled up enough buckets of water, they could have a nice full warm bath. Okay, yeah, there was a typo here. Yeah, and then Max got to work on breakfast, frying onions and potatoes. Yeah, okay. The little valley was a quiet place. As they hauled the water and firewood from the bath, their only accompaniment I don't know, was birdsong and the occasional gust of wind through the trees. To Max's surprise, Chloe had begun to sing, her voice projecting softly from the open door of the house. Some German folk song Max couldn't understand. She enjoyed it anyway, smiling as she filled another bucket from the ice-cold stream. Then, as she trudged up to the house, her stomach dropped when she heard a familiar sound. She set down the bucket and dropped to the ground, scanning the horizon. Coming over the peak where she and Chloe had dueled a single two-seat British reconnaissance plane, she should stand and wave, jump up and down, maybe light a signal fire. It was her duty to be found. Instead, she darted inside the house where Chloe was laying the fire on the stove. In the stove, not on the stove. She glanced up at Max, clear trepidation written on her face. Max shut the door behind her and sat in one of the chairs. She was not ready to go back to war. "I don't think they saw me," We should be safe, as she said it. She wondered at her own choice of words. She was perfectly safe and yet terrified of being discovered. She really didn't want the holiday to end. They waited in the kitchen until the sound of a plane was gone. Max stepped outside, furtively, furtively searching the sky. When she was sure they were clear, the bath project resumed. Heating pot after pot of water on the stove took the entire afternoon. After they'd eaten dinner, another satisfying hunk of pork with baked apples, the sun long gone and the evening chill beginning to set in, Chloe mixed the final pot full of hot water into the old tin tub. Then she unceremoniously disrobed and slapped into it. And slipped, not slapped, what? My bad. And slipped. I said slapped again, what? And slipped into it, sighing happily. Max pulled a chair up next to her, poured them each a little cup of schnapps. Chloe took hers gracefully, holding it with her usual Prost. Prost, Max replied. It had been too long, Chloe said. Having someone else to make the bath was perhaps my favorite, what's the word? Vergunstigung benefit, she scowled, disliking this translation. Okay, so that's meant to be benefit. Okay, I'm sorry if there's any German people watching this and I pronounced that terribly wrong, I apologize. She scowled, disliking the translation, then shrugged, water sloshing around her shoulders. Benefits of rank. Max nodded agreement. We had a little bathhouse at my old base, and I could use it any time I wanted since I'm an officer. Get a private tub with a curtain, but I couldn't really relax. I was always afraid someone would open the curtain and see me. No one did. No, I kept my pistol with me though, just in case. But one you threw away. I am sorry about that. We had a single tub in the tent. I did not worry. You do not interrupt the Blue Baron in his bath, even if he takes a very long time. Chloe knocked back her remaining schnapps, set the cup down beside the tub, and began to scrub. Still, I like this better. It's good to have company, she said. Soon enough, it was Max's turn. Chloe reluctantly climbed out, dried herself, then clambered into her warm, bulky flight suit and sat in the chair while Max slipped into the water. Only once she had done so did she feel Chloe's eyes. Remember her earlier discomfiture at being seen naked? She found that she no longer cared. Maybe it was more than that. Maybe she liked to be seen as she really was. She never wanted to be a man. It was just a necessity to join the army. Certainly to fly a plane. They never let a woman into the cockpit of a military aircraft. As Max washed Chloe's... Oh, sorry, yeah, I missed a comma, my bad. As Max washed, Chloe smoked the one after dinner cigarette she allowed herself each day. For a time she was silent, looking contented, but a bit quizzical. Max enjoyed the warmth of the bath, leaning back in the tub and breathing deeply. Eventually, Chloe spoke, exhaling smoke. Have you ever been in love, Maxine? A difficult question. Of course she had been in love. Max winced at the memory, her childhood friend pulling away from her, giggling girlish laughter. Max, you are so silly. She had also been proposed to on 3 separate occasions, each time being informed she would be well taken care of and would make the asker a very happy man. Instead, she had invented Maxwell and joined the army. It had seemed sensible at the time. She summarized all of this for Chloe by emitting a barely audible grunt of displeasure. No, Chloe prodded. You have been surrounded by Britain's finest young men, pilots, officers, even lords. Max shook her head. It wasn't a story she wanted to tell. Chloe said, pulling her chair up behind Max. She began to massage Max's shoulders, and Max let out an involuntary sigh, relaxing further, surprised but grateful. Hauling all the water for the bath had taken its toll, and her muscles were sore. After a few minutes, Chloe leaned down. Sorry about that. Chloe leaned down, spoke close to Max's ear, taunting her. Perhaps a German Conrad von Preis is, I believe, quite a handsome young man. Max scowled with sudden unhappiness. Enough. No, she said, twisting to face Chloe. I don't. She trailed off. The mockery in Chloe's voice wasn't matched by her expression, which was tender, hopeful. She was so close. Max felt her stomach knot. She leaned forward and Chloe did not move. Max kissed her, slow and gentle. Chloe did not pull away, laugh at her, call her silly. Not at all. She tasted of tobacco smoke. Max turned away, leaned back in the bath again, stunned by her own brashness and unexpected result, her heart beating fast. Chloe moved back behind her, began to massage her shoulders again, this time more gently. I did not think, she began, but didn't finish the thought. Max placed a hand over Chloe's own. Yes, she said, her fingers tracing Chloe's. I have been in love. Chloe soon leaned back in her chair, pulling her suit tight around her. The wind had been rising, and now it whistled through the house, pulling away the warmth of their dying fire. It is getting cold. Get out of there and come to bed. Max climbed out of the tub and was instantly cold, drying herself with their lone damp towel as quickly as she could. Chloe dropped her suit in a heap by her feet, and they crossed into the bedroom and lay down, pulling the blankets up high, listening to the rushing wind outside. As they warmed up, they drew close together, each uncertain, exchanging furtive smiles in the dim light. Finally, Chloe kissed Max, timidly at first. It is all right, she asked. It is all right, she asked, sounding for the first time nervous, her hands warm on Max's skin. Max was nervous too. Yes, she said. Alright, so that's the end of chapter 4. The next one's chapter 5. It's going to be an end of part 1 of the Blue Baron series. I really am enjoying this with because I like how people write their own fanfics, they come up with other stuff. This is really good, and, finally getting into Pricefield territory. So anyways, that's the end of this video. I hope you all enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one. This is TotalGamerJunkie, signing off.